Hey guys, Matt here. So in this video, yes, we are talking about me buying Palantir. Like, it is a stock I am interested in buying. Well, this video is gonna be more, it's gonna come from the perspective of my portfolio and my strategy towards buying it. My research on Palantir, it's still in progress. I'm not done looking through the company yet, but so far I've seen enough to determine that I am very interested in it. Now, let's look at my portfolio. Now, in order for me to talk about Palantir, me buying Palantir, in terms of my portfolio, I have to talk about Cloudera. As you know, or you may know if you've been following my portfolio for some time, or if you've been in Cloudera, Cloudera is a big data company, and it is, I guess you can say now was, one of my highest conviction plays in the portfolio. It was my big data stock. As you probably know, Cloudera is going private towards the end of this year. Towards the end of this year. We didn't know exactly when it's going private, and it still needs to go through a voting process and some regulatory approvals and stuff, but that is all but certain that Cloudera is definitely going to go private. So, this stock is going to go bye-bye. Now, my original plan was, since we don't know when Cloudera is going private, is to wait it out, because the bulk of my shares is pretty much short-term capital gains. And my plan was to wait it out a little bit and to see if, because we don't know the date Cloudera is going private, to see if I can luck out and have the bulk of these shares go long before, I leave. But it's safe to say that I'm already planning my exit strategy from this stock. Even if Cloudera decides not to go private, like the fact that it wants to go private is enough to me to plan my exit strategy. So I'm getting out of this stock one way or another. Now, the original plan was for me to wait and see what happens. However, there is certain criteria that would cause me to act a little earlier. Because, for example, me selling at 15.67 and me waiting to cash out, because shareholders are going to get $16 per share once Cloudera goes private. So me selling at 15.67 and me selling at $16 doesn't, it's not a huge loss in the grand scheme of things if I'm going to buy another company. And obviously, we're talking about that new company possibly being Palantir. So you might be asking yourself why I've never done a Cloudera versus Palantir video, when Palantir became YouTube popular. Well, once Palantir became YouTube popular, I did look to the stock in the company, and I couldn't find anything wrong with Palantir. Now, I know it would have been a decent YouTube video, maybe a spicy one to compare the two, but, I couldn't find anything wrong with Palantir. I really like Palantir, and I wanted it to succeed. And I didn't want to try to invent some reason why I like Cloudera more. I was just already invested in Cloudera. I really like the company, and I do see Cloudera going forward. And even right now, I do think Cloudera would have been a 10x stock 10 years down the line. And I still think Cloudera is going to 10x as far as revenue and everything like that. It's just now, Cloudera is going to do it without the shareholders. So you can already sort of tell what I'm thinking of doing. And I want you to listen to this video and tell me if I am absolutely crazy or not. My plan is to sell Cloudera, whether now or later, if certain conditions are met, which I will go over later, and take my proceeds from Cloudera and buy Palantir with it. That's my plan eventually. I've been looking into Palantir, and this is an amazing company, and you're going to see its financials in a second. It's been around for a while. I think 2003. It only recently became public. And Palantir's biggest customer, at least right now, is the government. Now, the government isn't a monolithic thing. By the government, I mean the U.S. government. It's not a monolithic thing. It's different agencies within the government, but it's the government. And that is a pretty profitable customer to have. That is not a customer that's going to go away anytime soon. Its first commercial product, the one that actually sold, because in my research for Palantir, I know they had some failed products in the past. The one that stuck was Gotham, and that's what they sell to the government. Now, what Palantir does is, as far as Gotham and Foundry, is similar to Cloudera. Well, Cloudera is more towards business intelligence. Palantir is more towards, at least right now, government. Now, Palantir is trying to change that with Foundry to get into more businesses, but right now it's primarily the government. Now, like I said, Palantir has two products, and then there's a third one behind the scenes. There's Foundry and Gotham. Gotham is the primarily government-focused product, and they both do similar things. Both Foundry and Gotham take data from many seemingly disparate sources, like databases all around the world or whatever the business wants the data to come from. Pulls it together, runs through machine analytics and AI and stuff, formulates patterns, analysis, and all that stuff, and converts all that into human readable data for whatever you want the data to do. Like, for example, like I said, Palantir is heavily involved in the government, and that includes the military. So, military flight patterns, it's been active in the Air Force, it's been really active in government intelligence. There's been a rumor that Palantir may have been involved in the takedown of bin Laden, but that's just a rumor. We're probably not going to know the truth of that. Now, the Foundry product, it basically does what Gotham does with, taking data from many different disparate sources and pulls them together into a readable format. But this is more geared towards business intelligence to adhere to many different solutions. We're ranging from automotive to data protection to energy to law enforcement to many different things. So Palantir is basically Gotham, but for businesses. Now, I know Tom Nash gave a pretty good definition as to what Palantir can do, but I came up with my own. And I want you to tell me if I'm crazy or not. If you're already knowledgeable about Palantir, you tell me if I'm out of line or not. But let's take a hospital. Now, I'm not a medical expert. I don't know if this is legal or if this is ethical or what. But this is just what I thought. Let's take a hospital that wants to give patients to the best possible personal advice that it can. So what a hospital could do, and maybe patients could opt into this, maybe, is that it can take patient data. Now, we're talking maybe purchases that, the patient made through his credit card, receipts and stuff. Everything that the patient bought, we can take location information from every place the patient has been. What grocery stores does the patient go to? How often do the patients, go to these grocery stores, to formulate some trends based on dietary habits? How often does the patient go to the gym? How long does the patient stay in the gym? What does the patient buy when the patient's online? And I'm just saying, a hospital might be able to take all these seemingly unrelated sources, maybe medical records, shot records, immunization records, dental records, maybe even social media posts, maybe what the patient likes to do for fun. Palantir might be able to take all that information and put it together in an app and so that you can read on a tablet in a format that a doctor could understand. So it doesn't have to be data scientist, a doctor. So that when the patient walks in, the doctor could, listen to the patient's problem, and with the help of the app and the doctor's own expertise, be able to provide the patient with the most effective personalized care. Now, I have no idea if that is legal or if that is even ethical, but in my opinion, I feel that is a thing that Palantir could do. And another example is an example that you're probably using right now. I mean, for example, sites like Facebook, YouTube, Google, and many other sites on the internet, have been taking information as far as your location, what you buy, what you search on Google, what you say in front of your phone with the microphone on it. It takes all that information and pulls it together in order to serve you the most personalized ads, ones that you are most likely to buy, presumably. It's something you're using right now, and it's using public information that you are giving away freely. Now, I'm not here to say whether big data is moral or not. That's not my place. What I am saying is big data is the future. That's what's going to drive, the future of businesses, the future of technology. Big data is the future, whether you like it or not. Now, like I said in the beginning, I am not done researching Palantir. I still have a lot more research to get through before I come to a final decision to Palantir. But I've watched some interviews with Alex Karp, and I like the guy. He seems like a total nerd, and which is, in my book, is a huge compliment. And in the interview I watched, which you can find on YouTube on Palantir's YouTube channel, what I like so far is that he was very vocal about discussing not only his successes and stuff, but his struggles, and not just his struggles, but his failures in the business. Like he mentioned a product. I don't know if he named it. I haven't got that far yet. He mentioned a product that Palantir launched before Gotham that failed horribly, and he freely admitted that the commercial launch absolutely failed. And for him to speak about such failures like that so freely, like in my opinion, that is very welcome. I like listening to the CEO that admits it when he screws up. I like that. That is very welcome to me. Now let's talk about Palantir's performance as of late. Now I will be doing some comparisons to Cloudera, because that's the stock I own right now, and I will be replacing Cloudera with Palantir. But now, as far as any kind of a value play, you will see that Palantir does not meet that criteria. It is not a value play at all. It is not a stock you would buy for that, especially the 4 PE. Now, Cloudera, you can say mostly the same thing, especially the 4 PE, but it is better in most aspects than Palantir. But then again, Cloudera is going private, so that's no longer an option. As far as market cap, yeah, Palantir absolutely destroys Cloudera with that, and the market cap just keeps shooting up. Like within the past year, almost year or so, from 15 billion to 16.4 billion to 43.3 billion. That is pretty admirable. Now, if we take a look at the financials, now this is Palantir, and its yearly growth, year by year. Like, it's already hit $1 billion in revenue by its last year's annual review, which is more than I can say about Cloudera. Now, I will say that Cloudera has had some problems, I think, with its service industry, thanks to COVID. This was supposed to hit $1 billion, but it hasn't yet. And the fact that Palantir already hit that's pretty good. Palantir's balance sheet looks absolutely phenomenal with its assets to liabilities. And it's got $2 billion in cash just sitting around with, we're talking $456 million in debt. So if it really wanted to, it could pay off its total debt instantly with just its cash. So very phenomenal balance sheet. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you know how I love balance sheets. I mean, Cloudera's balance sheet is pretty good as well. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's doing pretty good as well. Now, if we take a look at analyst estimates, now, as I say in every video, these estimates are not gospel by any means. They're just opinions of a consensus of opinions of different analysts and stuff. And so, it's nice data to look at. Just, don't treat it as set in stone. Now, I don't understand what the analyst's opinion is of these EPS, because if you look, it shows as going from 0.2 to 0.14. Back to 0.2. However, the revenue is shown as exploding, gaining 35% this year and 30% next year. And if we take a look at the growth estimates, now this is with profitability. Now, I don't know what's happening this year. I'll have to look into this. Apparently, analysts show Palantir streaking as far as profit, 30%. But after that, it's going up by 42.9%, according to these estimates. And then each year after that, 50% growth as far as profit each year for the next 5 years. Now, we don't know if Palantir is going to do this, but if it does, that is phenomenal. Here is my plan with Palantir and how I want to handle Palantir and Cloudera. So, I watched a few videos. I got pretty lazy. I watched a few videos based on discounted cash flow and with Palantir and stuff. And I don't want to call it an all-in, but I have a very interested price target of $20. If Palantir drops below $20, and it might or it might not, I will be interested in this stock. I will be interested, and I will be tempted to start diverting shares from Cloudera into Palantir. Maybe some of my older shares. If Palantir drops below 20, we're talking $19 or $18. Again, we don't know if that's going to happen. If Palantir drops below that, I might consider cutting my losses as far as, selling a little low, a little below $16 and maybe taking the hit on short-term gains. I might consider selling out and going into Palantir, but that's just me thinking. That might just be Matt Gore finally going crazy. Now, I still have to complete my research on the company, but after I do that, if it drops below 20, I might consider following my shares from Cloudera to Palantir, even before Cloudera goes private. But anyways, take care, have a great day, and eat your vegetables.